What's going on, my Evolve St. Louis City fam? So, as y'all know, I'm Kelly, and I'm here to give y'all the rundown, the lowdown on what happened this week in St. Louis City government. So, my job is to attend the meeting, so you don't have to. So, let's get right into it. So, I attended, three meetings this week. So, the first meeting was the Ways and Means Committee meeting. And so during that meeting, Board Bill 167, sponsored by Alderwoman Rice, was the matter of discussion. And so essentially, the bill, if passed, it will defund the workhouse and redirect that coin to the Division of Supportive Reentry, the City Justice Center, the Board of Public Service, and the Re Envisioning Public Safety Fund. And that fund will really support, will provide kind of wraparound services, um, just really geared at, again, supporting communities instead of, the current, model with incarceration. So there's a lot of debate, obviously, as all things are related to the workhouse. And so I'm going to highlight a couple of the issues that were raised, kind of, I guess, against the bill. So, one was a lack of support from anyone from the Board of Estimate and Apportionment. So, the Board of E&A, as people like to call it, not E&J, E&A, basically they approve like everything when it comes to coins. So when we're talking about city real estate purchases, when we're talking about appropriations of funding, when we're talking about the city's budget, the Board of E&A, they have to approve it. And so who sits on the Board of E&A is three folks. You got the mayor, you have the comptroller, and you have the president of the Board of Aldermen. So apparently there was no support really given from the Board of E&A, so that proved to be problematic for some folks. And then also just the overall lack of enforcement when it comes to Ordinance 71217, which, as we all know, is also known as the Close the Workhouse bill, which in essence really states that there will be a number of deliverables that will result in the development of a plan to close the workhouse. However, those deliverables have not been provided yet. So it's kind of like, how can we steer money away from this entity that people are still housed in that has yet to be closed? And we don't have a plan in place, I guess, to close this facility. So, needless to say, a lot of discussion and no vote was taken on it because, again, there are more things that really need to be worked out, before, a yay or a nay. So, that was the first meeting. The second meeting was the Housing, Urban Development, and Zoning meeting. The bill that I'm going to highlight that was discussed was Board Bill 238, sponsored by Alderwoman Murphy. And essentially, it would increase enforcement efforts and protection among the community concerning discrimination. So, discrimination in employment, discrimination with schools, as well as discrimination when we're talking about housing. And so, it would eliminate this discrimination among protected class members. And so this means you cannot be discriminated based on your race, your color, your religion, your sex, including whether if you're pregnant, sexual orientation or gender identity, your national origin, your age, your disability status, as well as your genetic or, like family medical history. So, if passed, this bill would also protect domestic violence, sexual assault, and stalking victims from housing discrimination from landlords. So that bill was passed with a due pass recommendation from the HUD's committee. And then the third meeting, lastly, but surely not least, the Board of Aldermen meeting, which lasted several hours today. And so there was a lot of discussion um, around the perfection of one bill in particular, Board Bill 44, which is sponsored by Alderman Narayan. And essentially, the bill will protect the health of workers and the broader community with regulation and control of air pollution um, regarding asbestos abatement. With when there's construction and demolition that's occurring. And so, again, this debate was like roughly 90 minutes or so. And, I think one of the things that was concerning among the Board of Aldermen, okay, let me rewind. Um, the ordinance, if passed, one of the things, it will require contractors working on projects over $75,000 to participate in an apprenticeship program through the Department of Labor. So currently, the ordinance, even though it isn't enforced, all contractors dealing with asbestos abatement, they have to go through this apprenticeship program. And then the whole purpose of them going through the apprenticeship program is, again, so folks are aware and trained in utilizing the right equipment and other techniques when it comes to dealing with asbestos. Because if you are exposed to asbestos, you have there is a chance that you can develop mesothelioma, as well as some other adverse health outcomes. So it's a very serious matter. So that's kind of like the whole point of them really wanting folks to participate in this program. And so, again, currently, even though it isn't enforced, all contractors have to go through this training program. However, this ordinance states that those with projects under the $75,000 wouldn't have to go through it. They would be exempt from it. So there were concerns raised about this in particular. I know Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, she spoke out with her concerns from her constituents as well as minority contractors, saying that they felt this requirement, it might hurt them in growing their business. And so also, folks expressed concern that there hadn't been some some promised follow-up conversations with the health department as well as other entities that are involved in this matter, regarding this legislation that was put forth, through the Board of Aldermen. So essentially, after all that, and there were a lot of questions too around like what the apprenticeship program entailed and if there was any costs associated and all these other things. So it was decided that the bill would be held and that it would be placed back on the informal calendar to allow for a bit more time to have those additional conversations. So in addition to the perfection of that bill, there were some passed bills today. So Board Bill 212 was passed, which was sponsored by Jeffrey Boyd, and this bill will place on the ballot a question to voters if the workhouse should be closed or not. And again, this would be a non-binding vote. Other bills that were passed, and again, I had kind of spoken about these in previous, in case you missed the episodes, because I did attend the committee meetings for those. So these bills will accept grants for the following programs: lead reduction, Project Safe Neighborhoods, COVID-19 care kits for faith-based communities, and Operation Legend. So that was kind of like the highlight of the Board of Aldermen meeting today. One other thing I wanted to mention before I shake, Board Bill number 77. So y'all that tune in know that Board Bill 77, if passed, it would ask the voters to keep the Board of Aldermen as a body of 28 members. So really reversing the ward reduction jazz. However, this week, the girl, Mayor Lyda, she vetoed the board bill and said, hey, the voters spoke in 2012 or whenever it was, and they said they wanted this board reduction. So that's what's going to happen. So, yep, that's what she said. So I'm done, y'all. Please stay tuned. You'll catch me here again next week. Until then, be well, stay safe, and take care.